All right, let's jump right in. So again, welcome. Matriculate is a national nonprofit that provides free virtual one-to-one college advising to eligible high school students across the country. Hopefully that includes your child. High schoolers get paired with a trained undergraduate student who walks them through every step of the college application process. Our mission is that your high schooler will go to a college or university that's the best fit for them academically, socially, and financially. So, who is speaking tonight? Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Karen. I am born and raised in Queens, New York City. I used to be a public school teacher for the last 8 years. And right now I am currently with Matriculate. I'm so happy to be here. I'm the high school fellow recruitment manager. And that just means I'm looking for high schoolers all across the country to support them with our program. I'm going to pass the mic to my colleague, Emma.
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here. I'm, like Julia said, I'm in Detroit, Michigan. I'm originally from here. I've been working in the college access space my entire professional career and love working at Matriculate. And I'm the manager of high school fellow experience at Matriculate. I'm going to pass it to Julia.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Julia Perkins. I'm a Senior Director of Student Recruitment and Experience. I've been with Matriculate for now over 7 years. I'm really happy to be able to bring college advising to students across the country and happy to see so many states represented. So keep telling us where you're calling in from, and I'll pass it over to Hannah.
Hi everyone, my name is Hannah Lei. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a rising senior at Northwestern University studying social policy and cognitive science with a minor in Asian American studies. I'm originally from the Big Island of Hawaii and graduated from a very small school in a rural area. I'm currently an advising fellow at Matriculate and have been so for the past year, and I've worked with 2 high school fellows also from Hawaii. But I'm excited to share and connect with you all this evening. I'm going to pass it to Ishita.
Hi all, I'm Mishita. I'm a rising freshman at Purdue University. I've been with Matriculate as a high school fellow my last year, so my senior year of high school. So I kind of know the environment which you are facing now. I've been there just last year. This year I am a high school recruitment fellow ambassador at Matriculate, so just getting my toes in the waters of Matriculate, and I'm here excited for you all to learn more about the college application process and happy to help.
So we are super happy to have Ishita and Hannah Lei. Really excited to have that student voice. So again, you can please feel free to ask them questions as well as we move through this presentation. Before we jump into information about college, we are going to really quickly share about Matriculate's free college advising. We hope many of your children will find this helpful and apply. So a little bit about our program. We are working with high school students across the country. We're working with 3,600 students specifically. So your high school student applies, and at the same time, we are training undergraduate college students who want to give back, who are passionate about our mission to serve as our advisors. The two of them get matched, your high school student and the undergraduate student. They get matched, they meet one-to-one each week, every week for about 10 to 12 months, depending on when they entered our program. And hopefully they walk through all the steps of the college application process and the financial aid process. And when your high school student graduates, they're going to that best fit school. Matriculate has been around for 10 years. And in those 10 years, we've worked with over 14,000 students. Okay. So just some fast facts about our most recent class. So we are this year working with 3,600 students across the country. As you can see on this screen, we are very proud to be working with many first-generation students, rural students, underrepresented students of color. And our students come from all 50 states, all US territories. And just a quick plug, so we are accepting class of 25 high schoolers right now. So these are the rising seniors. Their application closes soon, August 31st. So if your student is a rising senior and eligible for our program, please encourage them to apply online. And I will be talking about what that application process looks like. Okay, so who is eligible? Your child is eligible if they attend high school in the United States. We don't have a citizenship requirement, so students of any status are very welcome. They have to be on track to graduate high school in 2025. You have to have a family income of less than 90,000. Your child needs to have a GPA of unweighted over 3.5 and a standardized test score in the 90th percentile. So you'll see here what exactly those test scores are. Now, if your child does not have this test score or they just don't plan on testing, that's okay. We ask to see their what classes they're taking in school. So we are looking for 3 out of 5 of their core subjects being the highest level that the school offers. So this could be honors class, AP, IB, dual enrollment, that all counts. Okay, now what does the process look like? So step 1 is applying online. The application only takes 5 minutes. Students self-report their basic background information, their GPA, and their test scores. There are no essays, no letters of recommendation, or tax documents required. Step 2, once the application is submitted, our team reviews the applications on a rolling basis each week. Students hear back from us within the week. And then finally, step 3, we pair our high school students who are accepted. They become high school fellows and they get matched with their advising fellow. And this is a very quick turnaround. We match them within 2 weeks. And people love to hear that the matching is very intentional. So we are pairing your child with an advisor who has the same interests or is in the major that your child is interested in exploring or from the same home state and a lot more factors. Pass it over to Hanalei.
Yeah, so after that process, one of the most exciting moments is when students actually meet with their advisors. But who are these advising fellows and why and how are they qualified to work with your students? As an advising fellow, I can definitely tell you all about this process and what I've learned and also have personally grown in. Matriculate Advising Fellows, or AFs, are current college students across the country. Many of them hail from the universities on the screen here. AFs apply, interview, pass a background check, and complete 15 hours of training before they're ready to be matched. And once they get matched, AFs have monthly trainings around different milestones, such as financial aid, essays, and more, and this totals more than 40 hours. And of course, through all of this, AFs are closely supervised by a Matriculate staff member. For myself, Matriculate's trainings gave me more confidence to navigating the financial aid system process, especially given the new changes and as I also come from a low-income background. But one of the most valuable things is the one-on-one relationship building and the part that I most enjoyed about the advising process. So it definitely uplift everything Karen said about being an intentional matching process. And with my HSFs, it was great to be able to connect about home and our other interests, which made us closer. But honestly, I'm also grateful they allowed me to get to know them through the application process and share in their ups and downs throughout. For all advisors, this relationship building allows AFs to tailor their session to whatever your child needs support in. But this advising is still based on a general timeline, which is shown on the next slide, and a glimpse into what the actual advising looks like. HSFs work with their AF to develop a personalized session schedule, which means weekly Zoom sessions, periodic texts to check in, however often the HSF needs. I personally would meet with my HSFs every week, but some of my AF peers would meet every other week, so it can depend on the relationship. But here at Matriculate, we are proud of the strong curriculum offered that has 31 pieces an AF walks through. This includes preparing for tests, building a balanced college list, essays, financial aid, scholarships, preparing for college life, and more. This is a cool graphic on the right showing the timeline and milestones HSFs are striving to meet during the college application process. AFs support, check in, and keep your child accountable for meeting all of these.
Beyond that wonderful advising relationship, so Hanalei just shared that she works with 2 high school fellows from the same background as her, and that relationship is super strong. Beyond that relationship, we also have these extra bonuses to support your child. So we have text reminders to meet major deadlines. We have a texting hotline for questions. We have a Discord, which is a social media platform that's safe to foster peer community. Your child can meet with other peers who are going through that same process. We have monthly newsletters full of resources that go out via email and a checklist for the month. We have student guides, we call them cheat sheets, such as how to request a teacher recommendation letter or how to get application waivers. And finally, we have monthly feedback surveys sent out to get feedback on how your child thinks the program is going. Obviously, the most exciting part is getting Matriculate swag, which includes a soft t-shirt and a gift in their graduation package. Now I will pass it on to Ishita to talk about schools.
Yes. As you can see on the slide here, here's a list of our top attended colleges just for Matriculate from the last class, so for the class of 2024. This is awesome, but know that at Matriculate, it's not just about enrolling at a school, it's about attending the school that's the best for you academically, socially, and financially. We'll be talking more about this soon in our presentation. The schools our students attend are vast and vary across the board. They are attending hundreds of different colleges and universities, sizing from liberal arts schools to Ivy League schools and everywhere in between in the United States. Here, I was just mentioning about scholarships, just highlighting. Another highlight is that we have students applying from all over the board, especially Questbridge scholarships and then Dell scholarships, etc. Here's a fun fact. Last year, 12% of Questbridge Math scholarship recipients were Matriculate students. That's something we definitely take pride in. Also keep in mind that the scholarships offered by individual colleges are also important, and Matriculate helps in that as well. My personal Matriculate advisor went to Princeton University, and she helped me advise into different scholarships I can apply to, including local scholarships because she was from the same state as me, Iowa, and these can get extensively help pay for tuition.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to jump in and kind of talk about preparing to apply and what your student or our high school fellows are currently working on as they approach the fall. So a couple things we're going to cover is putting together a balanced list, making sure your student has all their college application materials, kind of going over some upcoming opportunities that your student might be interested in, and then just previewing some key moments for the fall. So the first thing is, you've heard this mentioned a couple times, a balanced college list. So we're just going to talk about what that is. So what does balanced mean? It means that the goal for your student is to create a list that's balanced, which means they're going to be applying to about 8 to 10 best fit colleges. There's a variety of things that your student will be considering when we say best fit. So below, we're going to walk through what those are. This is going to be a breakdown of 2 likely colleges, 2 match colleges, and 2 reach colleges. So likely colleges are schools that are going to admit more than 50% of their applicant pool, and their accepted average GPA and test scores are less than your student's GPA and test scores, meaning that there's a likely chance that they would be accepted to these universities. Target schools admit between 25 and 49% of the applicant pool, and the accepted average GPA and test scores are in the range of your students' test scores and GPA. So these are schools that they have a strong chance of being admitted to. And then finally, reach schools are those highly selective schools that are going to admit less than 25% of their applicant pool, and their GPA and test scores are in a higher range than your students' GPA and test scores. So to balance this out, we like to have 2, 2, 2. You can learn more about these at the QR code below, or click on the link when the recording is sent out. The other things your students are going to be considering, is fit. So this is also a part of this balance list, our fit criteria. So a balanced list has a majority of the schools that fits your students' academic, social, and financial criteria. This means that when they're looking at schools with academic fit, they want a college that will challenge them and provide them opportunities that they're interested in, but also will be an environment that allows them to thrive and succeed. So this could be professors they're wanting to work with work studies, majors that the colleges offer that your student might be interested in. Social fit, so finding a campus that offers a setting and culture that will support your students' development in the classroom and beyond. So this could be clubs or groups that they're interested. This could be the size of the campus that they feel comfortable attending, just making sure that that's a safe space for them. And then finally, financial fit. So a college that is affordable for your student. This means that it should meet their demonstrated financial need. A tip here is that some schools will meet 100% of your financial need. And if you're looking for that, you can use the percent need met and the net price calculator to better understand the aid that's provided. These can be found on some of your college's websites, and you can learn more at the resources listed below. So another thing your students should be exploring once they've kind of identified their fit criteria is searching for colleges. These are resources that we walk through with our high school fellows, but we also encourage you to check out with your students as well. So there are some really great college search engines like Big Future and Appley that we send to our students. What's amazing about them is your students are able to input their fit criteria, and then they're given a list of schools that they might be interested in so they could explore them. It allows your students to think about maybe colleges that they've never heard of, but could be an amazing opportunity for them. Another thing that we encourage our students to explore are free campus visits. There are a couple ways that students can get into these. The first being fly-in visits. These are fully funded visits to potential campuses for your students who might not otherwise get the chance to explore campuses that might be across the country and they don't have the accessibility to travel there. You can find a list of these at Appley. We encourage our students to apply to at least 2 of these. And then virtual college tours. Now, post-pandemic, so many colleges have the option of a virtual tour. So you can walk through dorms, dining halls, see if you can envision yourself and your student on this campus. You can learn more at uvisit.com. And then obviously, if you live close to a school that your student's considering, you might just do an in-person tour. They offer those at most colleges as well.
Yeah, and with my HSF for fly-in programs, at least, we really encouraged applying for them, even if it's not necessarily your top school, because getting the chance to visit a college for free, especially from a rural community, is an amazing opportunity to also get a feel for preference in terms of size and location, again, even if it's not one of your top or dream schools.
Of course, and if it is difficult for you to manage to get out of your state or out of your school, perhaps for scheduling or other conflicts, there's always virtual tours, as Emma talked about before. I personally, since I live in a rural town in Iowa, I didn't have access to big town colleges, so I ended up visiting not only in person, but also doing a lot of virtual tours for a lot of the colleges around the country. And through that, also feel free to email the counselors at the colleges to learn more about the questions that may not be answered through virtual tours. It's something you can also do to get in contact and get out of your comfort zone and discuss your preferences for the schools directly with the counselors.
So, general next steps: build a list of your academic, social, and financial fit criteria. Start exploring colleges. Start really thinking about schools that you might have never even heard of before, and apply to fly-in visits and virtual tours. If you are a parent of a current Matriculate High School fellow, your student will be working on researching and finalizing their college list. We have a college list submission form where students are provided feedback after submission that is due September 13th, so that they'll be on track to finalize their college list by October. And another call out that our Matriculate High School Fellow application closes August 31st. So applying to college, you've built your list, you have everything ready. What's your next step? So your student's goal would be to complete all of their core application materials by October 1st. So this could include registering for SAT or ACT testing, building their college resume, starting their college essays, and getting letters of recommendation. So the tip and the kind of hint that we give our students is that by completing these items early, you give yourself enough time to write any additional requirements that might be needed on certain college applications. And then also, if your student is considering applying early action or early decision, they're not feeling rushed and they can feel confident and secure about what they're submitting without feeling overwhelmed or stressed. So our college application is a puzzle. It's putting together pieces that tell your students stories for admissions officers to really see how amazing all of the students that we work with are. So what do you need to apply? We're going to start with test scores. So if it's applicable to you, your student should be registering for a fall SAT or ACT test. A new thing post-pandemic is that schools can be test optional, meaning that they will not require test scores. This is something that your student might be considering as they're looking at colleges that they're wanting to apply to. But before you skip the test, make sure you kind of go through the school's requirements, check the scores that they require to apply, just so you can get a good sense of like what the best fit is for your student. You can visit Fair Test to learn more about this. For colleges, you want to make sure that we encourage that taking this early, because if you are submitting an application, early action, you want to get those test scores back. So if you need to retake them, that's something you want to consider. You have another opportunity. We encourage our students. Oh,
Sorry. A personal tip on the test scores for college, coming from just graduated senior, so I kind of have a understanding of what the colleges are looking for. I know many students must be a little nervous because some of the top colleges are reverting their test optionals back, but do know the test scores are in your hand. The decision to take the test depends entirely on your goal. It's not something to be avoided, so definitely don't feel intimidated by the tests, but do understand that it's not going to hurt to take one just in case and see how you do, especially if you score well. Also, personal tip, make sure to review beforehand so you know what you're about to be tested on. And I'll pass it on to Hanalei to give a little more insight as well.
Yeah, I would just add a quick thing building off of what Ishita was saying. I would just emphasize that while test scores are still important nowadays, one score does not determine your entire application nor who you are. My HSF or high school fellow wanted to take the SAT over and over again, but we had at some point had to redirect his efforts to other parts of the application. And he's at a really good school now, and I know many people with the same case. And so who you are and how you tell your story in your application is also way more than your standardized test score.
So the next thing your student should be considering is their college resume. So you want to be creating a first draft of your college resume, or your student was. A couple tips that we walk through with this is that sometimes there's not going to be a space for this on the college application, but drafting this gives your student a template to work with, and they can copy and paste sections into the activity section of their college apps. Colleges are interested in learning, about your students' academic achievements, awards, athletics, programs they're participating in. That's inclusive of Matriculate. But we also want to make sure that they're talking about what they're doing outside of school. That's so important. Colleges want to get the full picture. So if they're volunteering, if they participate in youth group, this is a key part to the puzzle of who your student is. You can learn more at the resources below. Here's a sample resume with just a couple professional experiences listed out for students. Basically, the tip that we say is that if you hand your resume to a stranger, it needs to have enough details so the stranger can get an essence of what the job is, what their roles and responsibilities are, how often are they working there, and what is the time that they've been with that organization or volunteer program, so they really get a good picture.
Can I jump in? Just one question related to testing is, what is a super score? We had it on the slide and I just wanted to jump in and answer. So a super score is when a school takes, if you've taken multiple tests, they take the highest subsection, and they add that into one score. So if you had a really high score on your English section and one ACT, but maybe you didn't do so hot on the next section or the next test that you took, they'll take that English section and then the highest in math, reading, etc., and then they'll combine that to the highest score, and they'll do, some wizarding to make it into a new score on their application.
So the college essay, this is definitely the topic that I get the most questions and the most concerns about with our students. So it is definitely a hot button issue. So summer tasks for our high school fellows or four-year students is to review the Common App essay prompts. These are released early so that you can start brainstorming ideas. And by September 1st, complete the first draft of your essay. So some tips that we talk about all the time with our students: be authentic. Colleges want to know your student for who they are, not what they want to hear. It also makes an essay easier to write if you're talking about yourself and not somebody that you think you should be. In tandem with that, avoiding cliche topics. They've heard it all. They have heard everything. So be yourself. Everybody else is taken. Another tip is writer's block. So this is common for everyone. I'm sure we've all experienced it. So we encourage our students to kind of start with a 5-minute free write of all of the essay topics that they're considering. And then think about which one they gravitated towards, which one was the easiest to write. That's usually the one that they're going to feel strongly about and feel most confident in writing. And then a great source of feedback beyond your student's advising fellow who will review their essay with them is to give it to you, a family member or a close friend, because they know you really well. So if they're reviewing it, they can let you know, does it sound like you, or does this feel like you're maybe writing this for someone else? At the bottom, there are resources, but I also want to call out that there is a webinar on essays coming up next week on July 5th.
Yeah, and just jumping in on the college essay writing process, personally, it was my favorite part, but I also think it is the most difficult. This is why I think it's so great Matriculate's advising process facilitates such close relationships, because the essay writing portion can be very personal, especially when brainstorming or talking through essay ideas from throughout one's life. And I worked with my HSFs and let them know in advance that this requires a lot of deep reflection that many of us right at high school have not had the opportunity to do so before. But in the end, I will say writing the essay is a very meaningful process in and of itself, and no matter how the college admissions process goes, I genuinely believe you learn a lot about yourself in the process of reflection, something very important when transitioning to a new stage of life.
I'll piggyback on Hanalei's comments there. I have a slightly different story. I did not have a college counselor for my school, so I sadly did not develop the love for writing. However, I did end up pushing through and understanding that if you are strategic about how and when you start writing the essay, it can get a lot easier and become the most fun part of the application as well. So I personally started writing bits and pieces of ideas for my essay topics during the summer, so exactly a year before this year. And I just, maybe I thought about writing about my dog or writing about my one school experience. And then I would just bullet point it all. And then one day, maybe on a Sunday, I'd sit down for 30 minutes and write a few more sentences and understand which topics I felt most resonated with me, which is what I then expanded to be my personal statements for my college essays. Also know, as a side note for essays, each school may or may not ask you to have supplemental essays. So be sure to brainstorm multiple different ideas for you to write about that resonate well with you and that you're able to reflect upon your journey so far and be able to write in a way that you're able to express your true self to the colleges in a way that you feel proud of.
So the next thing your student will need are letters of recommendation. Most colleges are looking for letters of recommendations from teachers in core subjects. So we encourage our students and your students, who are hopefully our students too, to identify 2 teachers in core subjects that they'd like to write a letter of recommendation for them, and to do this by July 31st by in-person or emails. Teachers get a lot of requests from this. They also are doing things in the summer, so we want to make sure that they have the time to really put thought and effort into the letters of recommendations that they're writing for your students and make sure they can really capture them. So some quick tips that we encourage is to make sure you pick a teacher, or your student picks a teacher that knows them really well. So maybe they work with them in tutoring, or they're also a coach. Somebody who knows you well is going to really be able to highlight your strengths. And then if possible, try avoiding the popular teacher. They're probably going to get a lot of requests. However, maybe the popular teacher is the best teacher for your student, and that's fantastic. So if you're going to ask them early. The next component is college apps. So our summer task for that is starting your students' Common App and Coalition app profiles. So these apps will open later on, but you can start building your profiles so you can get ahead of that. Your student might need to complete more than one application. This is very likely to happen, especially on Coalition and Common Apps. So when they're creating their profile and thinking about the components that go into them, like your essay topic, your students should be considering one that they might be able to reuse to save themselves time as they're kind of going through this really busy, stressful period in their life. The next is the Common Application has over 1,000 member colleges. So like I said, it's probably guaranteed that your student is going to be submitting an essay there. So it's really good to just be able to formalize yourself with that platform so that they feel secure using it as they move into the fall. And then finally, students with limited financial resources are eligible to apply to colleges for free. If you're looking to explore this step further with your student, you can visit nacac.net or nacac.org/student/fee waivers to learn a little bit more about this process. Going to pass it over to Julia to talk a little bit about full ride scholarships.
Amazing. I get the fun part because I know a lot of people have questions about this. Is like, how, okay, so I've applied, I've done all of these things. Now, how am I going to pay for it? And I think one thing that I would highlight back to what Emma talked about is really focusing first and foremost on the financial fit and finding those schools that meet 80 to 100% of your financial need. And again, you can do that in your college search process. So we'll send out these slides afterwards. I encourage you to go back to those slides and just do a little bit more research in how you would find that fit. And again, please come to us if there's any questions. And if your student is working with an advising fellow, they will certainly go through this in the college search. So your summer task here is to start researching at least 2 scholarships that you want to apply to this fall. For our students, we recommend that they're applying to at least 1 scholarship every month. As you probably know, with scholarships, there are so many students applying. And so it's really about a numbers game. And so we want to encourage our students to be strategic in how they're applying to scholarships. A few quick tips that we share with our students and want to share with you is that when applicable, it can be really advantageous for students, especially applying to state schools, to look into whether or not submitting your college application also correlates with how you receive merit scholarships. So that's related to different types of achievements that you've had over your high school career. So it could be orchestra, it could be that you have a really strong GPA, but you want to make sure that that's something that you're focusing also on in your college application process. Apply to local scholarships. I think this is something that's very underrated and under the radar, is that there are scholarships at church. I got a $1,000 scholarship from my church. Nobody else applied, and it was like sort of easy money to get to submit to my college and add to my tuition bill. And just knowing that there's no such thing as a small amount when it comes to college scholarship applications and scholarships is that, especially for those smaller scholarships, there's less competition and those local scholarships. And so encouraging your student to apply as many of those library scholarships, school scholarships, any that they're Elks scholarships, all of those that are in your local community as well, because it all adds up. For tips and upcoming scholarships, your student receives what we call a Tuesday tip newsletter. And in every one of those newsletters, there is either an upcoming deadline that we want to highlight or resources that your student can use in the scholarship search process. And here are some of our favorite tools. College Board has a scholarship search tool that we highly recommend. Appley.com, Scholarship America, and scholarships360.org. There are a lot of others that are out there, but these are some of the top ones that we recommend to students. Some upcoming scholarships this fall that we want to highlight. Karen, if you could go to the next slide, that you've probably heard of, but we just want to highlight. These are full ride scholarships. So Questbridge College Match, the Gates Scholarship, Jack Kent Cooke Scholarship. These are all due in September, or Jack Kent Cooke is due in November, but they cover the entirety of the cost of attendance for your students. So that is tuition, room and board, everything, books, everything included, sometimes even travel. So really, really strong scholarships for your students to apply to. Just note that they are almost like applying to college. They have a lot of essays and things that you have to submit. So start looking into them now, whether or not they're a good fit for you, and encourage your students to start working on those applications as they're working on their core application materials.
Just gonna jump in here real quick. To add on to the scholarships portion, also make sure you're able to check out the specific colleges you're applying to. What I didn't end up doing, which was new to me, I learned after my college application process, is many of the schools offer full rides or even full tuition scholarships directly through their colleges, not specifically through these programs. So make sure to do your research beforehand. As I said earlier, I didn't have a college counselor, so now that you're attending this webinar, you should have a head start. Also, on a side note, if you do apply early action or early decision to some of the colleges, as discussed earlier, you will have more opportunity to be automatically considered for many of the merit-based scholarships at the colleges. A personal example for me, I ended up applying early action to Purdue and ended up landing many of their merit scholarships, which I would not have had a chance to do if I had applied regular decision. So make sure you're able to do your research beforehand and you meet those deadlines on time.
So what's next for fall 2024? Right here, you can kind of see our roadmap to college. So this is kind of what we use with our students. Our advising fellows also walk the same process of where your students going to start and where they're going to finish with our fellowship. So a lot of these things we've talked about for Matriculate High School Fellows, getting to know them, starting a testing plan, getting letters of rec over the summer. As they move into the fall, they're going to start formally submitting their college list if they're a part of Matriculate, or just finalizing that in general so that they can receive feedback and prepare to apply. As they prepare to apply at Matriculate, we offer a checklist for your student to walk through with their advising fellow on the things that they should be checking out during each season of their college application process. So this is divvied up at Matriculate by prepare, apply, enroll, transition. Here's an example of the prepare one. Our toolkit is linked so you can see all of the resources that we provide to our students. Upcoming in the near future, we have our QuestBridge webinar, which is next week. This is open to parents, students, and advising fellow on July 24th at 7 p.m. We will also have that college essay webinar coming up as well. And our college list submission form will be opening up as well for our matriculated advising fellows. So if you're interested in our program and you want to apply, these are all opportunities that your students would have access to as they go into the fall. We also have bi-monthly live student office hours that your students can attend, and you are also welcome to attend with additional questions and concerns to support them throughout their fellowship.
Okay, we are coming to the end of our presentation. Before we jump into questions, we got many wonderful questions throughout the presentation. Again, please feel free to think about what concerns you have, worries, any other questions you have, and drop them in the Q&A function of the Zoom. So, call to action. We have some specific asks that we would like you to take away to think about, especially if you know students or you have a student who is eligible for the Matriculate program. Again, this is free college advising. They get paired with wonderful advisors such as Hannah Lei to go to the school that's their best fit. So the first call to action, please encourage the student to fill out the 5-minute application online. You'll see here in pink, this is the QR code. You can scan it right now, or here's the link below. Again, this will all go out in an email to you after this presentation. So you don't have to have it now, but just having it on screen for you in case. The second is, if you know of students who are eligible, you can also nominate them yourself. So this is a form, you input their name and their email, and we reach out to them, inviting them to apply, and we tell them about Matriculate. The third is, if you are interested in hearing about what's going on month by month. So this is updates about Matriculate, wonderful things Matriculate students are doing per month, important webinars, important like professional development that we are coming out with. Please join our newsletter list. You can get all of our resources month by month. And number 4, share with your community. So this includes the school that your student attends, maybe their clubs, their after school. This can include maybe some parent groups that you're a part of on Facebook or WhatsApp. Honestly, the more people who know about this, the better, right? We want to be reaching students again across the entire country, especially in the regions where there's less college access resources. So we really depend on you for that. And lastly, if your student is not class of 2025, they are not a rising senior, their application is not open yet for Matriculate, but that's okay. You can sign them up early. So this right here is the interest form for our younger students. We have parents who have 9th graders, 8th graders, even 10th graders. And if you sign up here, once your child's application opens for their year, let's say class of 28, we email them and we say, "Hi, we're Matriculate. Your application has opened. Please apply." Okay. Gonna give everybody a few seconds to let this all sink in. Again, if you have a child who is eligible for our free college advising, we would really love to have them. Okay. Thank you, everybody, again. Here's my contact information. We are on social media if you would like to follow us for our latest updates. If you know of college students, so let's say you have a child who is already in college or you are connected with a community of college students, we also accept them to become our advising fellows. Again, we train them, we give them leadership opportunities. Depending on their campus, they may also be compensated. And so this is just a quick plug for them for a leadership and volunteer opportunity to give back to college access. All right. We have a few minutes now for questions. We've gotten a good bunch in the Q&A. Thank you for asking. Thank you for being engaged. The first question I'm going to answer is about our eligibility requirements. So I'm going to really quickly go back to that slide. Your child is eligible for Matriculate's free college advising if they are attending high school in the US, but there's no citizenship requirement. These slides are a little slow. Okay. And there's no citizenship requirement. Your family has to have a family income of less than 90,000. So this is, let's say there are 2 parents in this household. This is a combined household income, again, less than 90,000. And as for academic requirements, we are asking for an unweighted GPA of 3.5 and above, as well as a standardized test score, so ACT, PSAT, or SAT in the 90th percentile. Now, if your student doesn't have this test score or they don't plan on taking a test, that's totally fine. We have a portion of our application that then asks them to fill out what classes they're taking in school. So 3 out of the 5 core subjects need to be in some sort of honors class. So this is honors, AP, IB. It's the highest level that the school offers. I'm going to pass it on to my colleagues for the other questions that you all asked.
We're answering them in the chat. So if there's any others that you have, Karen.
Okay, perfect. Please keep the questions coming in. One question that we got, I want to direct towards Hanalei and Ishta. You can both, unmute and share. But we have families asking what exactly the advising process looks like. So if you could share a little bit about your relationship with either your advisor or your high school fellow, and what was the most helpful. So especially this is for Ishita, who was our high school fellow. What was the most helpful thing that your advising fellow helped you walk through?
Sure, I can start and then I can hand it over to Hanalei. So I was just starting going from the beginning. I was nominated by my English teacher to be participating into the Matriculate program. That's how I was introduced last year. By the time I got in, I did have a college list built in. And to my surprise, I was actually matched to an advisor who grew up in Iowa. So she was from Des Moines and I was from Fairfield, only a couple hours away. So we could really resonate with each other, talk about the environment, not just about the college application process. She was also on the pre-med track like myself and was a neuroscience major, which I was considering at that time. So for me, it was the perfect fit. She was really sweet. She was a sophomore in college and had a recent experience in the college application process. So I really got to understand what she went through applying to Princeton and getting in on a full ride there, which was really impressive to me at that time. And then later, I ended up discussing my essay topics with her, she helped me brainstorm. And as I mentioned earlier, that can be a struggling topic for many students. But once you have that support and idea of where you're headed, a clarity in mind, it's much easier and a really fulfilling process in the end. After that, I also asked her a lot about her college life, preparing for my first year, because many students, as I'm the oldest in my household, it is the first time for me to go to college. So I got to learn from her. She almost acted as my older sister in that way, but that was my personal relationship with her. So I got to learn more about, dorm lists, what should I take to my dorm room for my first year? Or work study programs. What work study programs are offered by colleges? Part of what she did was as an advising fellow, inspiring me to apply as well. And then, so there are multiple different areas that your advising fellow can work with. For me, the biggest highlight was that flexibility to be able to work with any and all questions I had as a senior at that time. I think for me, that was the most grateful part of Matriculate for me. I felt like I had support outside of just my family, and it was something to look forward to, all of my meetings. The best part was, I could shoot her an email, shoot her a text throughout the fall, and she would be available. She would carve out an hour in her busy schedule and still make that time to meet with me. So that was a really heartfelt moment for me as well.
Yeah, I think Ishita covered a lot from that process. So I'll only add on a little bit because I think someone did ask about like different backgrounds and majors, and both of my HSFs or high school fellows did have a different major interest. I know like majors can change throughout your time in college, but both of their interests were in business, and mine was more on like social policy and education side. And so that still didn't prevent any of, I guess, the guidelines or supports that Matriculate offered, at least when it came to advising and being able to look into colleges. I definitely had to do my own research into what schools offered business programs or more of like the academic fit that they were interested in, but that didn't mean that other aspects of the school, such as social fit or geographic or other parts that I knew from my own college experience, it wasn't applicable to theirs. And so I would just echo that part about, while academic background might not align, we were both from Hawaii, still had different interests outside of that. And so we were still able to connect on other levels, besides maybe like the major background. But nevertheless, I think for my high school fellows, I am so proud of them at the end of their college application process. We actually both started at different times. And so one of them started earlier in the summer and one of them started in the fall. But nevertheless, because of the Matriculate's resources, we were able to maintain on track and still maintain all of the milestones that were provided to get their applications in on time. So those are just some things that I will add on. I am so appreciative of Matriculate and the resources they provided and being able to facilitate these relationships and advising that I'm able to contribute and connect with some people from Hawaii as well.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience, Hanalei and Ishita. One last question to wrap up the night is for both of you. If you could give one piece of advice to a high school student excited to apply to college, to go to college, nervous, maybe scared, anxious about the process, what piece of advice would you give them? And take some time to think about it because I know that that's a big question.
I can jump in. I it's not like one specific thing, but I think being open to exploring a lot of different options. I think one of my HSFs did have like his sights set on one dream school, but it actually shifted over our advising process. And he's very happy with the decision that he ended up with, even if it's not his initial dream school. And that came with a lot of reflection about what he actually maybe wanted to see in his college with like academic, social, and financial fit. And where he ended up being worked out a lot for him. And that took a lot of, I think, more being flexible in his mindsets and goals. And I think also in like the college essay process, as I was saying before, just being flexible and really engaging in that reflection process to think about all of the things that are very exciting in the upcoming years, but also getting a great chance to reflect on all of your past lived experiences and how that applies to your future.
Yeah, that's a great point about being open-minded. My point would be starting early. It would be important to get your almost like foot in the door, getting, staying ahead of your own schedule in a way. I mean, I found it best to follow Matriculate's track, that, road winding down on the slide you found earlier. Just making sure you're meeting all your deadlines is very important, because many times the best opportunities lies in the road ahead of you. So if you're able to take that step ahead and just step into each of those with an open mind, it's something to be looking forward to as well. And on a side note as well, at the end, whatever the decision, be proud of all you accomplished. All the reflection you did is very important, not just for your college, but also for yourself. Knowing yourself is one of the most important skills to develop, and this college application process definitely helps with that. So whatever decision you get at the end, embrace it, go all in to whichever school, and know that it's meant for you.
Our students are always so wise and know, I always walk away feeling like they know so much more than me. So, Hanale, Ishita, thank you so much. And everybody else, again, thank you, family, so much for your time. You are such an important part of your students' lives and the college process. And so it was very important for us at Matriculate to be able to give you information to hopefully help you help them as well. The recording, the slides, the resources, the upcoming webinars. We have office hours open for questions that will all be shared in an email going out early next week. So please look out for that. And you can feel free to email us at any time for any other questions. So everybody, thank you and have a good night.